Bada bing! We got all these drive shafts here, and obviously they're way too long because we cut a large length out of the wheelbase of this truck. So we got 1, 2, 3 different sections of drive shaft, and we're gonna try to make that one section of drive shaft. Really though, I don't know how this is gonna go. We're just gonna have to start cutting. God, who put metal over this? Now we got this part. Now what do we do? It's pretty cool. You can see the inside separating from the outside in the 2 different pieces right there. Probably doesn't come up on camera that great. That means we're really close. This band ripped out of there. So if we go to that band depth, that should free us. Bada bing! Next up, we need to get this slip yoke assembly off of this section of dry shaft, keeping the U-joint so we can test fit it up there in the back of the transmission. Not for sure how to get that out of there. I don't have one of the fancy puller deals that slips on there and you use a impact on. Weapon of choice is old school channel locks. Let's see if we can work that big snap ring out of there. Oh boy. That effectively broke it. Cool. Will be a whole lot cooler if that came out of there. I don't know what the answer is here. I might have to take a break, research the old YouTubes. Well, despite my efforts to get this busted up snap ring out of there, I flipped it over and I did it the right way because I watched a YouTube video of how to get those clips out of there the easy way, which I probably done before but forgot. Now we're trying to pound this thing down so we can get access to this snap ring. Ultimately, you got to get this out of there. We got it started. The top one out, we just need this one out. That was a battle. Yeah, it was way harder than it needed to be. Finally, our method of removal destroyed our grease seals. That's no bueno. And just like that, we hit another roadblock, aside from my struggling to take the U-joint out of the drive shaft. Again, slightly embarrassing, but I couldn't hardly get that drive shaft in the press, and if I could, it was way too long. Yeah. Here we are, we got our drive shaft set in the rear diff, sitting in there with a strap holding her up, good old ratchet strap. Then we have our piece that we just removed here to check the length, see where we need to cut it. Need to cut it right about here. So we're obviously too short. Didn't think that would happen, but we are about 5 inches too short, actually. So, time out for a new tube, because the other tube we have, that one is shorter than that one. So that's not gonna work. Good times. I think in the meantime, what we're gonna do is lop off the end of this one here so we can prepare this yoke to weld it to the new tube when it arrives. So fair warning, I have never done this, but I have watched another YouTuber do this because, well, that's how I learn. Sam from Scrappy Industries made himself a drive shaft, and he had about 8 thousandths of interference. He could not get the yoke that he bought brand new to go into the tube. Now we turned our yoke out, and magically we left some of the stock material there, and it too has 8 thousandths give or take of interference fit here. And if I didn't watch his video, I'd probably just pound this thing in there or turn it down so I could pound it in there. But here we are. He heated it up and it slid right in. I hope that works for us. I don't know about you guys, but 8 thousandths interference seems like quite a bit of a tight fit. If I didn't watch this video, I would never think it would go in. It might not. I sure hope it does. Woo. I don't know about you guys, but this is not going the way I wanted it to. I didn't want to have to hammer it like that. Just kind of hoping it would just fall in there. Once we got it halfway in there, we can't really heat it up much because then it heats up the yoke too. So cool beans, I dropped the microphone and it turned off or locked itself on mute. We got this yoke in here. We had to pound it. I didn't really want to. And then in the process, we noticed that that's hot, but this U-joint has faceted faces, which means this U-joint is no good, which is kind of a bummer because we picked this yoke because we thought it had a good U-joint. Anyways, we got it in there. We're going to have to come up, fashion up some way to try to check it to see just how out around it is. Hopefully it's pretty darn close. I don't have a good way. We ended up just trying to pound it on home all the way in as far as it would go. That way we know it's seated and not cocked at an angle. That's the best we could do. Yeah. That's at the max out it can go. Let's go in just a touch more. Right about there. I don't know if you guys can tell the setup here with the mess, but we had a bottle jack on a wheel project sitting over there. It's a Ford Ranger wheel project. Still need to finish that. Bottle jack sitting on it, holding up the tube. We played with this for probably 15-20 minutes, shining light underneath it, trying to make sure it was 100% flat on the bed of the saw before we started cutting. And oddly enough, we even remembered that we needed to have some type of catch in case the water or cutting fluid started coming out of the tube as we were cutting. Need to make like a chute or something with the plasma cutter to hang on there so we're not spilling water all over. Good news, bad news, no matter how hard I tried, it is not perfectly square. Not having a whole lot of good luck here. One way she's square, the other way we got about a 1/16 running from down here to up there. So it's crooked. That's convenient. I didn't know this till I cut this in two, but you see that cardboard down in there? This thing has cardboard inside of it, just like that. And that's to keep the vibration and ringing down, supposedly. I think. At least that's what the interweb tells me. So let's try to get that out of there. There's two sections, and I think we have another section we cut in two. Did you guys know about this? I never really knew about it until I cut it in half. Kind of surprised me. Get this, these ears lined up with those ears in there. We're gonna have to adjust for the crooked cut, but I'll have a way to make it not crooked other than grinding it. Now we just let her cool, and then we're gonna have to try to somehow gauge this to see just how out of round it is. Or, you know, we just weld it and put it on the truck. I mean, you know, those are the two options. I don't have a lathe big enough to hold this on centers. Here's the setup. In the land of precision instruments, this is, well, let's face it, this is really as good as it's going to get for me. We got V blocks here, one down further. The V block is too small for this diameter of shaft, so it's just actually rubbing in the corner. Not the way it's supposed to. Best solution that we have. We could make a custom V block, but we're not there. What we're trying to do is dial this spline shaft in with the center line of the shaft, or at least as close as we can get it. We got the yoke numbered, and we got an indicator here to see if we're picking up out of the V block at all, and then an indicator here we can zero on the quads. Somehow I went the wrong way. Let's get to it. We gotta get some material removed out of there so you have a place to get a nice weld, and then we're just gonna blaze this thing in. I don't know what you saw that first weld job, but it was a little bit, not the ugliest welds I've ever seen, but is having some real trouble seeing and rotating. My grip on that bigger OD tube, my hand was getting tired and I couldn't see. So when the yoke cupped up, I went way high, and we had to grind that back out, go back over on the two sides that had the dip that went up high. It's on there. It's not going to win any awards, but I don't think it's going to come off. Let's look at this other side. Here we got our TIG tacks. I really just used TIG down here to kind of keep the heat out and practice my TIG. I'm still learning on that. Not very good, but those are some better looking TIG welds that I've created. Very important we don't get this too hot, because this blue stuff will melt off. So we're going to get us a nice wet cold rag and wrap around this and then change it out intermittently. Plus we're only going to weld a little bit. Tube end was cut crooked because we cut it in our own saw. We had to beat it around to line it up, so we did that by tack welding opposing sides with the TIG welder and then getting the other direction. So we got numbers down here, 1, 3, just like a 4-jaw chuck. We get it that way right, and then we do 2 and 4 this way, but we welded 1 and 3 and then did 2 and 4. I think we're pretty close. We got a gap down here, so I think we can root in there with the MIG welder, and we're only going to do 2 opposing sides, get our wet cool towel on here, let this cool off, then we'll do other 2 opposing sides, and then maybe wrap it in quarters. Yeah. Hopefully we can see a little bit better on this one. Oh, that is way better. Way happier with that. Maybe rotating the tube isn't the answer. That's way better. I'm not even afraid to show this one. That's exactly what we want. We want to do that all the way around. We got where our tacks are just shallow TIG tacks, so we'll probably wrap all the way around and then gouge out those TIG tacks and then fill it in the proper way. But man, if we could do that the whole way around, I would be just super happy. That's what we're looking for. I guess wrapping the MIG gun's way easier on this size of the tube than rotating it for me. Super excited to try out our new tool. Tiger tool, U-joint installation tool. Pretty simple concept, but after we removed the first one on this drive shaft, or at least before we even got started, we had to beat the ever-living crap out of it to get it out. And yeah, I thought this would make life a whole lot easier. It's all the rage. Tiger tool, the official Tiger tool brand tool. Supposedly all we got to do is crank it down and that U-joint will come out. So this is where we ran into problems when we were taking it out the old-fashioned way. The U-joint itself will bottom on the inside, at least it's bottoms on the inside of the seals, and you can't push it anymore. We don't want to bend our ear. Ta-da! You can still use that. Any snapping grooves out while we're in here. Here's our brand new ones. Moog 460. Okay. Oops. I'm sophisticated enough for the takeout tool, but I guess I'm still old school enough to. Looks good. All we gotta do is get it back in there. We gotta do the other side. Cool if they had cages on these things. Alright, this Tiger tool definitely made things a whole lot easier to remove. Still learning to get the hang of it, but I think this was a win. I think this was built in North America, maybe Canada. We'll have to look at the box a little closer. Really nice tool. Glad we ended up buying it because I didn't want to beat that all the way out. Really excited. Hopefully this is the last time the drive shaft has to go in this old girl before we can use it as a dump truck. I mean, isn't that cool? It hasn't had a drive shaft since we started the wheelbase switch. We are minutes away from having a drive shaft. I hope. Let's see how it goes. We're gonna bolt this sucker in there. Guess we better get the tape off. So you didn't miss anything when the camera died on the other U-joint install. Pretty much exactly the same as this one. The only difference was we put the grease third in, and after the clips were in, we pounded the body back and forth to make sure she moves nice and silky smooth. Oh. This thing definitely isn't light, that's for sure. Starting to think I should have came up from the bottom. Oh, it hurts. Yep, definitely should have came up from the bottom. left these drive shafts down here. Oh, hello. I didn't really go as planned. We got this end down here. The diff slipped in the one strap. We got to get the other end picked up. We broke our light. Snap that back together. You get the other end picked up and hooked onto the transmission. We're kind of angled at 11.3 or 11.4, and that's more like not the same. Take it out of gear and take the parking brake off and see if we can rotate that. Any luck, this will rotate. Oh yes, very nice. Okay, that's what we needed. You're smart. You would have moved all these other drive shafts out the way. Okay. So gonna put a bolt in this. This can't fall off. Oh, if I can get that screw started. Oh boy, I'm getting excited. We have a one-piece drive shaft. All right, it bolts in and it does what it's supposed to do. At least it looks like it will. We got it lined up so when it's weighted, we'll probably clean this grease off here. But we got it lined up so when it shoves in, it can go in further. It's got just a small, very small, about 1/8 of an inch. It can come out further. But when this gets loaded up, it should, in theory, shove that way. That's the idea. Can you see it if I go down here behind that exhaust? One-piece drive shaft, and we're connected. I'm excited. I want to try it out. Super, super duper excited with that. We have a drive shaft installed. I mean, this thing hasn't had a drivetrain in a long time. Ever since we started this shortening project, basically we had to take the drive shaft out to shorten frame and move the axles forward. Now we can go again. One problem. Fuel tank need a little work. Brake lines, we got them all routed in. We need some clamps on those. We need to bleed the whole system. So fuel tank, get a little work on that. Brake lines, clamp them down and bleed them. And we are ready to test drive this old girl. Super excited. Stay tuned if you're excited and you want to see what happens. I hope the rear end doesn't bounce off the ground because this thing is so out of balance and going brrr. I don't think it's going to. I hope it's not going to. If it does, well, we'll have to use that as a template to buy a good one. Thanks for watching, everybody.